Welcome back to Raw Politics. Now, thousands of people are expected at an anti-racism concert in the German city of Chemnitz tonight. This is after violent clashes between far-right and counter-protesters. Now, on Saturday, an estimated 8,000 demonstrators were on the streets of the East German city, where a state of emergency has now been declared. Unrest erupted after an Iraqi and a Syrian man were arrested over a fatal stabbing last week, and anti-migrant mobs started chasing foreigners in the streets. Now, there have also been reports of far-right protesters performing Nazi salutes. Now, with me to unravel the situation in Germany, our political editor Darren McCaffrey. We have Michael Modrikamen, director of the right-wing group The Movement, and Christian Democrat MEP Peter Jar. Thank you very much for joining us for this panel. I'd like to know, I think you are from close to Chemnitz, isn't that right?
Yes, right.
What is happening there? I was reading in the New York Times that it was described as something that hasn't been seen since the end of the Second World War.
Maybe you have to understand that was a young man was killed by two peoples, and you have what should I say? It was not in the deeply forest. It was not outside of the city. It was downtown. It was in the middle of the city. It was close to the main street, and early in the morning. That's right. But that's why also the people so exciting. And then the police catch two people, and then they realize. One of them was illegal in Germany.
Yeah, we have 8,000 people protesting, and some were seeing Nazi salutes. That's worrying for you as a German?
Because we have different demonstrations. The first was on the Sunday, on the same day. That was should be a silent march. It was not really silence. And then on Sunday we have also different demonstration, right? And just a left-wing power. And I had to say that's the one of the big issue that we have. We divided the people to right and left. I think that's not.
Michael, you're from the right. We have to qualify.
But I would like to add, there was, of course, a few Nazi and racist and fascists, and they should be kept out of the streets.
So that worries you?
Yeah, obviously. But beside that, there was a lot of ordinary citizens from Chemnitz that do not accept anymore to see their wife, their daughter, their sister, their mother being harassed, being raped, being chased in the streets, plus, murder and
But you're
crime.
making it sound like it's happening all the time.
Yeah, we're to get perspective. There were more people, or the same number of people, murdered in Germany last year as Chicago.
That is not true. So there has been an increase. There are official reports.
It's still incredibly safe. Germany is still incredibly safe.
Look, maybe it's still safe, but there has been a sharp increase in crimes, in rapes. And there are official reports from the government attributing clearly this increase to the influx of migrants. And I think that you have a lot of ordinary citizens that say, enough. We want protection, and we want that our government take care of its citizens first.
All right.
This is the message.
Before we continue this discussion, let's put things into context. Joining us from Berlin is Politico's chief Europe correspondent Matthew Karnichnig. Matthew, thanks for joining us today. Can you put this into context for us? What is driving this unrest in Germany?
Well, I think you have to look back over what's happened in the past 3 years in Germany. And I think many of your viewers will probably remember the situation on New Year's Eve in 2015, where you had these attacks on women there near the cathedral in the city of Cologne, which really opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that, dealing with this refugee influx might not be as easy as a lot of people may have initially thought. And I think what we're seeing in Chemnitz recently is basically a continuation of this. It's a very similar situation where you have a crime that is really a heinous crime. A German citizen is killed, and then you have this reaction to it, this very emotional reaction, given the fact that this last event occurred in the state of Saxony, which has been known as sort of a hotbed for right-wing activity. It's not that surprising, maybe, but you're seeing this sort of unease, I think, across Germany, not just in the East, because you've had a string of these crimes. And even though murder overall seems to be a kind of a minor problem in Germany, you've had a number of high-profile cases recently. In fact, today there was just a verdict in the murder of a 15-year-old girl in southwestern Germany at the hands of a man who's believed to be an Afghan refugee. They haven't been able to positively identify him, and he was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. And you've had other similar cases. So I think there's sort of this gradual sort of dawning on people that dealing with this refugee influx, especially considering that so many of the refugees are young men, they're not assimilated into society. There's clearly a lot of frustration on their part because presumably when they came to Germany, they were sort of told it's going to be the land of milk and honey and they'll get a job and everything will be fine. And that's turned out not to be the case. And obviously, when you take in more than 1 million people, some of them are going to commit crimes. And I think on the part of the German population, or many in the German population, they feel, well, they weren't really asked about whether they wanted this or not. And so you're seeing, these marches, you're seeing obviously the neo-Nazis coming out and so forth. But I think it's important to remember it's not just neo-Nazis who are marching.
All right. Thank you for that. Berlin's Politico's chief Europe correspondent, Matthew Karnischnik, talking to us from Berlin there. I would like you to react to what he was saying there. Let's start with you, Peter.
Well, what should I say? If you look to the statistic, you say Germany, or especially Chemnitz, is very, very safe. That's a statistic. The other things is also feeling by the people. And there is many, we call it petty crime before. And what should I say? In the end, statistic is one side, the feeling is the other side. And that's why also our Prime Minister start an event. He called it Saxony Talk. Listen to the people, understand the people, and make action.
You're talking about statistics. I just want to bring up some statistics, actually, because you were talking about perception and then numbers. So those official statistics show that the number of non-German murder suspects increased between 2016 and 2017 by 33%. But I think it's important to note when we say non-German, it doesn't specify nationality. It could be an EU citizen, so it did not break down the nationality. Now, let's take a look at the number of migrant victims of murder. That's between 2016 and 2017, 60% more migrants were the victims of murder. So to put it all into context, let's bear in mind that in 2017, crime in Germany was at its lowest rate since 1992. It dropped by 5.1% on the previous year. To your point, Darren, that it is still safe in Germany.
Yeah, but there is clearly, let's say there is clearly a problem, at least on a perception level. What does Angela Merkel, what are the governments, the federal government, need to do in Germany to try and deal with that perception that things are getting worse? What's the remedy?
My answer is another way. I would say you can do the typical German people. You can do everything with him, but at least I'm also a German. He needs law and order. Law and order. And if we have the feeling it will fail, if we have no law and order, then there is confusion. And that's why we have to bring the law and order back to the people, although I would say in his own region, not only in a statistic. If we feel not
very quickly,
well. That's what I want to say, and that is the risk and the chance.
Sure, very quickly, Michael. Just very quickly, what on the perception? Is this what the far right is fueled?
You are not raped or killed by perception. It's facts. Women have been raped, women have been chased.
Sure, but put it into context of statistics.
Maybe Germany is still safe globally, but it was much safer before. So basically,
crime is done.
Yeah.
Crime is done.
I am sorry. There are official reports from the German authorities saying that there's been a sharp increase of rape and harassment industry. Look, this happened. This happened in Chemnitz, and today somebody will be...
How do you deal with it then? How do you deal with it?
Look,
it's law and order.
Two things. First of all, look, it was so foreseeable that by accepting hundreds of thousands of people, young male people, coming from for some of them, some very backward, environment, where for them, a woman, their sister, should stay home, shouldn't be in the street. That whenever they see all, ordinary German women walking free,
that is rather anecdotal,
they see them as target. They see it and are prey. This is the problem. This is why we have so many problems.
What's the solution, though?
We will actually, I'm going to get into that because the German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas is calling for the public actually to make a stand against what we're seeing on the street, against extremism. Well, let's head over to Alex Morgan in the Cube, our social media news hub. He has the latest on this part of the story. Alex.
There's only one solution.
Tessa, what perhaps people are referring to is an image that will distress many people in Germany and around the world. Images like this. Let's watch this video. This is from the 27th. It shows a man here standing in front of the march making several Nazi salutes before police walk him off here. But the person who took this footage wants to remain anonymous. They're from a group called the Jewish Forum who monitor anti-Semitic activity across Germany. But they say they weren't actually looking to film this man. They were looking to film the mass of people in the background. We can show you here. Now, they are holding signs and placards which say things like German for the Germans and also foreign is out, chanting no neo-Nazi slogans. We've had our German team listening to what was going on in the background there. But this man himself, seen here making that symbol, that Nazi salute, this footage taken from the 27th from Chemnitz, one of the examples of amongst those who were there were people quite openly in front of the police making the Nazi salute. Then let's go into what a lot of people were holding there. Let's not forget that fake news and false reports do not serve you, whether you're left or right, wherever you stand. It doesn't serve anyone. But there's this. Let's just scroll this down for you. This is an image on a banner by those. One man here holding a Nazi salute. It's a collage of beaten women. The claim here is these women are attacked in Germany by migrants. These women are the victims, in fact, of domestic abuse, police brutality, and other crimes elsewhere in the world. These are not German women, and yet these images have been appropriated, turned into this meme, and spread. This has been fact-checked and debunked by this Austrian site here and their teams of journalists. We're also looking across it ourselves in the Cube, going back to the sources. But these women here, while they were attacked, they were not attacked in Germany, and they were not attacked by migrants. Just an example of some of the misinformation being spread by people here, as you can see, clearly doing the Nazi salute.
All right, thank you for that, Alex. I mean, we're talking here about extremism. So, Darren, to your point, is enough being done in Germany?
Well, this is a big question. Clearly, there is a reality and there is a perception of what the reality is. And a lot of people in Germany are buying at least into what the perception of the reality is. The question, of course, is this just simply a law and order issue? Have the police dealt with it badly and are not dealing with it very well? Or is this and which it is, a wider political issue for Angela Merkel, that her decision, 3 years ago, has had massive ramifications that she's not been able to deal with.
And this is why you should come back to Raw Politics, because we will be discussing a lot more on this. And we have a lot more to come in the program after the break, when Raw Politics is Jean-Claude Juncker obsessed with time and the Commission President's daylight savings decision. And that's after a short break.